Hello everyone, Daryl here. How you guys doing today? And it's a lovely fall day here in Michigan. I don't know if you can tell, but the sun's shining, the temperature's in the mid 70s, and it's just a beautiful crisp fall day. Well, it was this morning. Now it's warming up a little bit, but it's beautiful, nice out. And I figure it's time to do some work around the yard and house. And there's something I wanted to show you. We haven't done enough lawnmower videos this year and small engine repair videos. And that's odd because I made my living for 5 years as a lawnmower technician at the largest outdoor power equipment company in the United States. And my specialty was small tabletop, walk-behind, and handheld equipment. I specialized in walk-behind lawnmowers, string trimmers, leaf blowers, and generators. And there really isn't much when it comes to those things I can't fix. Working at a big shop like that, you see it all really quick. Because so much work comes in and there's so many different problems, you get a pretty good idea of what's wrong with something usually before you even start to work on it. Well, anyway, today we have my lawnmower here. This is my main lawnmower I've been using this year. This is a Honda HRB 216, and I just love the Honda HR series of walk-behind lawnmowers. They're expensive, but I tell you, they are great machines. I think in all the years I worked on them, I only saw one that actually had an engine failure, where the crankshaft went bad. I've never seen any other ones where the engine has catastrophically failed or had any major problems other than the transmission going out. But anyway, here we are. This is the successor to the old Harmony HRM 215 series, and they have the plastic deck. And when they first came out, people were really afraid of the plastic deck, like, oh, a plastic deck. And I tell you, the plastic deck is the way to go. There's been absolutely no problems with these decks in the last 20 years. They're extremely durable. They can take the contact with fertilizer and chemicals. They never rust out. They never crack or break unless they're like totally abused and dropped from a substantial distance or something really, really heavy falls on them. But they just don't wear out or break. And these decks are amazing. The whole mower is amazing. Honda lawnmower engines are super great, and I highly recommend a Honda walk-behind for anyone. The downside of them, of course, is the price. For the price of a new Honda walk-behind like this, you can buy a low-end riding lawnmower like this for about the same amount of money or just a little bit more. So, they're not cheap, but they will last the average person 15 to 20 years of trouble-free service. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox here and my recommendations here about the Hondas. This is my main mower that I've been using, and today we're going to do a little tune-up / winterization on it and show you what you need to do to keep your lawnmower running in tip-top shape and have it ready to go next year, or if you're pulling it out of storage for the spring, things you might want to check and do on it. So I'll give you a rundown here. What we're going to do is we're going to change the oil, replace the air filter, sharpen the blade, and add some fuel stabilizer to it. And then we'll show you what's up when it's done. You can see this particular one here, the rear wheels onto the drive wheels. The wheels are pretty much bald. The treads wore off the wheels, and I would probably end up replacing those wheels fairly soon. I've got 2 other Hondas out back that might have the same wheels as this. I might just take a pair of wheels off that and put on this. But you see, the trouble is people run the lawnmower, there's a 3-speed system on this, slow to high. What people tend to do, they tend to run the lawnmower at a higher speed than what they should, than what they're really going to be walking at. And then half the time they're holding the lawnmower back and the wheels are spinning and slipping in the grass while you're walking a little bit slower than what the lawnmower is set to run. And then that causes, of course, the wheels to wear out excessively fast. So that's my number 1 tip. First tip of the day. Select a speed low enough so that you're not holding the lawnmower back while you're walking behind it and trying to cut. When you go to make a corner, release the drive. This has a blade cut system, so this button here, you press down on this, that engages the blades. But it still doesn't actually take off and move until you embrace this or engage the second lever here to make it drive. On the Honda, they've got a cutout here on the left, so you can see you can let go of that, hold the blade on, and make your corners and turns without the wheels turning. That's another mistake people make. They don't let go of the wheel engagement lever while they're trying to make their turns and stops. They hang on to both these blades so that while they're turning or stopping, both the wheels are still spinning. Ideally, you should release that bar there as you're making your turn to start a new row of cutting, and then when you're ready to move, kick it forward and take off again. That'll save a lot of wear and tear on the tread on your rear tires. Alright, well, let's get started. First, we're going to drain the old oil into a recovery pan, and we'll show you how we do that. Alright, you can see my recovery tub is here, and the mower is next to it. They do have a drain plug, but the best way to change oil on these is to remove the dipstick fill tube here. Set that aside. And we're just going to tip the mower up on its side and let the oil drain right back out of the fill tube. You're best just to avoid the drain plug altogether and do it this way. Drain it into a small shallow pan or a recovery pan like this, right out through the fill tube. Alright, while that's draining, we're going to remove the blades. And almost all of these Hondas have a double blade mulching system with the larger blade on the bottom and the smaller, thinner blade offset a little on top of it. And they all have 14mm bolts holding the blades on. So we're going to use the handheld impact wrench to take that off, but you could just as easily use a box end wrench or a socket on it with a ratchet handle. I wouldn't recommend an open end wrench because too much of a chance of slipping off and cutting yourself, but a nice solid 6-point box end wrench or a socket would be good on this as well. Alright, we have the blades off, and we're going to use this little bench grinder to sharpen them with. You can use a file or some sort of rotary stone on a Dremel type tool or something like that if you want to file them down and sand them or sharpen them, but I prefer the bench grinder. It cuts through them real quick, makes it easier to get a nice smooth finish all the way across. And these blades really aren't that bad. If you look at them here, there's just a few little nicks. This is the top cut blade here. It's in very good shape. A little bit of filing on sand, grinding on that will be good to go. The lower blade has a few deeper nicks and chips in it. Even worse a little bit on this side, kind of rounded over there. But we'll show you how to get that out of there and make that nice and pretty too. I also have this small inexpensive blade balancer here I use just to make sure they're fairly close to being balanced on both sides. You don't really need this. You can actually stick a smooth edged screwdriver through the center of the blade and balance it that way. You get a screwdriver like this, has a nice round center in it. You can stick it through a blade like this and make sure it's balanced, that one side's not hanging down lower than the other. You can see this one looks like it's kind of out of balance now. The right side's hanging down lower than the other, but that's not the best way to do it, but in a pinch you can do it that way. But we can set it on here. See, it clips, it's got a series of little grooves it clicks over here, and you set it right on there like so. You can see, like I say, one side, if you look at it, one side's a little lower than the other, but it's really not that bad. But we'll touch that up and balance it out as we're sharpening it. Let's check that one. That one's perfect, not a bit of offset on that one at all. So these blades are going to be pretty easy to sharpen. And we're just going to start with safety glasses. Always be sure you're wearing safety glasses. I never wear gloves when I'm working with a grinder or rotary tool, because I'm always afraid the glove material might get caught and pulled into the grinding wheel. Also make sure you don't have any loose clothing on or scarves or jewelry dangling down. Don't want anything to get caught on these wheels while you're doing your actual grinding. Once we turn the grinder on, we're going to get our angle here, kind of like this. Try and match up the angle of how the wheel is hitting the blade with the angle of the cutting surface here, and just go back, long strokes all the way across. Then we're going to do one quick touch up that way to machine the back surface of the blade to get all those burrs off of it. When you're filing or grinding on the back side of the blade, the point of it is not to try and put an angle on the back edge. The point or idea behind it is to remachine or refinish the back side of the blade so it's nice and smooth with no bumps or gouges or stray metal sticking down on the bottom side. Then once we get that done, we work the angle to match the top angle back and forth. Alright, we pop the blades back up on the balancer, and that's nice and level across. Put the other one up there. That's nice and level too. And again, just one more time to be sure everybody understands, when you're cutting the edge here, which is kind of hard to get a good angle on it, you want a nice straight angle across, not a bunch of like rounded and multiple different cuts on it. You want one nice straight smooth cut across it with a final finish to the back side, just to deburr it, not to put an angle on the back side, but a nice straight smooth cut there, one nice straight angle there. And if you have nicks or chips in the blade, don't be chasing those nicks and chips back like over 1/4 of an inch trying to get them out, because a few little nicks and chips really aren't going to hurt anything. It's not about having a razor sharp blade, it's about having a nice smooth surface for the grass to get cut off and fly over the top of. A razor sharp blade is going to be dull within minutes anyway. It's not going to make any difference how sharp the blade is. It's more about having a nice uniform surface that comes in contact with the blades of grass. So there we have it. That's the blade sharpening and balancing part of it. And we're going to put 14mm bolts back in and mount those back up in place. Maybe get our scraper out and scrape off the bottom of the deck a little. Alright, we're going to reinstall the blades now, and sooner or later everybody puts them on upside down. So if you get these blades back on and you're not cutting anywhere near as good as you're supposed to be, double check your blades and make sure you got them on right. The angled surface of the cutting blade always is pointing upward toward the top of the machine. And these double blades are pretty easy to line up. You just make sure your holes are lined up, and then insert one of the bolts through the back side, through both of them at once, like that. That'll give you a good guide to get it started. You can hand start both of these and then hit them with your impact wrench, or tighten them up with your socket wrench. Now you can see the blades are back on and torqued down. The underside of the deck's been scraped off as good as I'm going to do it, and we're going to move on. Alright, another thing I like to check and make sure of as soon as I get this done is to make sure that all of the wheels are set equally to the same height. And these are real easy to set on the Hondas. There's 6 different adjustment slots that the wheel tab can fit into. You see right here, there's all cutouts in the plastic deck where it goes into. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as you pull the tab toward the rear of the machine, that lowers the deck. So right now I'm in the 3rd highest position on this one, and 3rd highest position on that one. Same thing with the back. 3rd highest, I got it set for in the 3rd notch from the front, counting backward in each one, so it's nice and level all the way around. Another tip on this is we'll take the carburetor apart now, the air filter. Let's pop that We'll pop the air cover off by pushing on that and pulling, and the air cleaner cover comes right off. Currently I have no air filter in there right now. The air filter, I've taken it out already because someone tipped it up. When they tipped it up, they tipped it the wrong way, and the air filter flooded with motor oil. You gotta make sure whenever you tip a mower like this up on its side, any kind of mower, the carburetor air cleaner side needs to be the side that goes up in the air. So we had to go out and get a new air filter. We went with an aftermarket Primeline brand air filter, model 7022571. I got this at my local Auto Value Auto Parts store, and it was, you can see, I don't know if you can see it, $8.29. There's a part number, and it came a really nice looking air filter. It came with a pre-filter too, so that's less than half the price of what Honda wants for a brand new filter. So that's what we're going with. It looks like it's going to work out just fine. Then we're going to insert the air filter in behind it like so, and that's a nice looking air filter, very good quality it seems like. And we're going to reinstall the air filter by hooking the bottom tangs in first, pushing it forward until it snaps into place. And one of our actual tabs here on this is broke, but the remaining one should hold it in place with no problem. Now we're going to add the oil, I believe these hold 24 ounces of straight 30 weight motor oil, but I always double check it, start with adding about 20 ounces and checking it and adding a little bit more until I get it right to the full mark on the dipstick. On these, I always check the oil level without screwing the dipstick in. So I remove the dipstick. I don't even know where did I lay the dipstick? I tell you, I lose more stuff and misplace more things. It takes me longer to do things looking for the parts. All right, we're going to refill the oil, and then we're going to add a couple squirts of fuel stabilizer to the gas tank. I like the brand called Stabil, S-T-B-I-L, and it works really well. I've never had any trouble with it. Some people prefer to run all the gas out of their machine, and that's fine too. Whichever way works for you, whatever you're comfortable with, but this is what I recommend, Stabil brand fuel stabilizer. And it's got a little measuring cup here. It's ounces, half ounce, quarter ounce, etc. And 1 ounce treats 2.5 gallons. So I use like a quarter ounce in a gas tank like this. And then I fire up the machine and let it run until you can smell the sweet smell of the stabilizer working its way through the system. And it has a very distinct smell to it. You'll know when it gets through the carburetor and actually starts burning, because you will definitely smell a change in the exhaust fumes on the machine. And then you should be good to go next spring when it's time to mow the lawn. It'll just be a quick, easy pull start, and your mower will be ready to get out there and cut the grass without any extra work or effort on your part. So we're going to go ahead and refill the oil now. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.